Hi, this is Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today, book of Curious George Discover Season from 2016. So let's get started. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. Do you want to hear about the time George's curiosity helped him learn all about the seasons? It all started on a cold winter day. The leaves were gone and the grass was brown, but there wasn't a snowflake in sight. George had to bundle up in his winter coat, but when he got outside, he wasn't sure what to do. There were no fallen leaves to play in. There were no birds to watch. George had toys for warm days and toys for snowy days, but nothing for just plain cold days. George had an idea. He was British with the bunnies, but when he went next door, the bunnies weren't in their hatch. He found his friend Bill and the bunnies inside. I'm going to bring them to my grandmother's house for the winter, George, Bill told him. It's just too cold here to keep the bunnies outside in their house. George was disappointed to see the bunnies go. Then Bill asked him to do a special job. While I'm away, will you feed Jumpy Score for me, he asked. There ain't a lot of nuts and seeds around in winter, so it's an important job. George was happy to help. George fed Jumpy, but that took only a minute. He wasn't sure what to do after. He looked around his yard and thought about summer. He missed his poo and blowing bubbles. Everything fun seemed to happen in spring, summer, or fall. Winter was the most boring season. George decided he wasn't going to let winter ruin his fun. It might not actually be summer, but he could still do summertime things. George got the hose and filled his little pool with water, but when he jumped in, the water was so cold, George got cold too. He ran in the house, soaked your feet in warm water to get rid of the chill, the man with the yellow hat said. The warm bath was a lot nicer than the cold pool. George felt much better. The next day, it was even colder. George bundled into his coat and scarf. When he went out to play, he wanted to enjoy being outside in the winter as much as he would in the other seasons. He sat by his pool to relax. Then George blew some balloons for Jumpy. But when Jumpy tried to pop a balloon, they discovered that it had frozen. George didn't know bubbles could freeze. There was a surprise. Then George noticed something even more surprising. The water in the pool had frozen. Yesterday's summer fun had turned into today's great ice cube. George was starting to feel like an ice cube too. He went inside to warm up and drank some hot cocoa. George would puzzle. How could a monkey have any fun outside when everything keeps freezing? Suddenly, George had an idea. He could use frozen things to make a game. He filled a balloon with several cartons from the recycle bin with water. Then he brought them outside so they would freeze in the cool air. George didn't notice when Jumpy accidentally spilled some seeds and nuts into the carton of water. The next morning was the coldest day yet. George had to wear a hat, scarf, and coat to stay warm. He didn't mind, though. He went to check on the balloon and carton of water he left out the night before. They were frozen solid. George couldn't wait to set them up for a game of icy winter bowling. When he took the ice from the carton, though, he did realize that some of Jumpy's nuts and seeds was frozen inside. Oh well, George decided to try the bow anyway. But Jumpy kept trying to break his breakfast out of the ice. George had an idea. He broke the ice into pieces so Jumpy could find the nuts. The pieces slid on the ground and Jumpy chased after them. George and Jumpy knocked the ice blocks around until the sun went down. It wasn't ice bowling, but it was just as fun. Besides, George knew he could try his new bowling invention again the next day. He filled the cartons and balloon with water once more and left them outside. The next morning, George bundled up. "You're not going to need that hat and scarf today, George," his friend said. George went outside. It felt more like spring or fall than winter. George chucked on his carton and balloon, hoping for another round of ice bowling. But the water hadn't turned to ice. It was too warm for it to freeze. The weather was very confusing. Wasn't it supposed to be cold in the winter and warmer in the other season? George went back into the house. But later that day, something amazing happened. George thought he saw something outside his window. When he went to look, it was snowing. George thought that if it was cold enough to snow, it might be cold enough for water to freeze again, and cold enough to make a new ice bowling set. Maybe the cold could be fun after all. George realized that winter, spring, summer, and fall were all great in their own ways, but the poo could wait until summer. Right now, he had winter toys to play with and a whole chilly season to enjoy. So that was Curious George Discovers Seasons from 2016. So please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.